policies that we ought to be concerned about pushing in the midterm elections? We're having our convention of National Action Network, of which you're an integral part and you're on the board, national board. What ought we be challenging the parties, Democrat and Republican, the Congress, the president, and those officials? What are the policy priorities as you see it?
Absolutely. So I'm gonna contextualize it a little bit, since we are looking at the 50-year anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, and take a look at where we were in 1968 compared to where we are today. And the first thing I want to note is that, in America, when we talk about the American dream, we talk about education being the greatest equalizer. And that if you get a good education, you are on your way. And so the good news is that in 1968, there was a great divide when it came to high school graduation. We pretty much closed that gap when it comes to high school graduation. Both African Americans and whites are graduating at better than 90% and better than 90% rate. What is still a problem, though, is the quality of the education. And a lot of that relates to affluence, income, and resources to provide for better educational experiences for your children. And so what we see is that while the graduation rates for Black kids is better, the quality of the education they receive, rigorous academic training, their performance on tests and what have you, have everything to do with the educational experience that they received from early childhood forward. We see that college graduation rates have gone up, as well. College graduation rates for Blacks are still not yet what they are for white persons. The challenge here, though, is that even though we've seen increases in educational attainment, we're not seeing it show up in wages and in income. And so there's still a big wage disparity for African Americans compared to white people. On average, African Americans earn 82 cents to the dollar that every white person earns. And for African American women, it's actually less than 70%. And that's a big problem because in the African American community, many of the households, the majority of households where children reside are being led by African American women. And so if their wages are lower, what you will consequently see is less resources for the children. Greater number of children, African-American children in poverty, living in single households, women-led households. And so one of the things we need to be paying attention to is this continuing gender and race divide when it comes to pay inequity. The fact that Black people and Black women in particular are earning significantly less than white people on the dollar for the very same work, despite educational attainment. We also need to take a look at wealth and the fact that income ties into wealth as well as things like home ownership. And what we're seeing is that Blacks still are not buying homes at the same rates that white people are. And that, home ownership is the greatest, the fastest track to building wealth in America. The challenge that we have there is that this administration has taken steps through budget proposals and the like to cut out programs that allow for low-income owners to purchase houses, which ultimately go to building equity and in turn building wealth. So we need to be pressing for greater housing opportunities and greater home ownership opportunities. We also need to be looking at policies attending to college loans and college access, low-income college affordability, because these are the things that are going to keep us down. So I would say, there are a lot of things we need to be paying attention. We still need to pay attention to health access, quality of health care in low-income neighborhoods. We need to be paying attention to things such as incarceration, mass incarceration, and what that does for us. But at the core, we need to be looking at education, income, and wealth. We need to be paying attention to the fact that this federal administration under Trump has not even begun to touch minimum wage, increasing the federal minimum wage. Some states are doing it, but on the whole, the federal government has not increased its minimum wage, and states follow suit with that. And then we need to pay attention to health care and the fact that they still want to erode Medicaid and Medicaid expansion in addition to the cuts that they've already taken to the individual mandate. Education, income and wages, home ownership, housing, and then health care.
Let's go to Greg in Cleveland, WERE 1490. Greg?
What's the name, Reverend Sharpton?
Yeah.
Hey, I want to give an example of what I do every summer. It's nothing earth-shattering, but it's something in my part of the universe. I go up to the rec center, and I sign up to coach baseball. And we get these adolescent youth, and kind of like take them under my wing and, talk to them a lot and just try to, point them in the right direction. And I look at it in twofold. I know these single-parent moms, I know they're glad to, have their kids a break from, because I grew up in a single-parent household, and I know how my mother was in the summertime. But that's just one example of what we can do as men or women, just go to the local rec, sign up to coach, and, just try to influence these youngsters, because there's a lot of negativity going around, and, if they hear positively, you might just be able to grab a couple of their minds. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your call. Let's go to Levi in Detroit, 9:10 a.m. Superstation. Levi?
Brother Sean, how are you? How are your guests doing?
Good.
Great. Yeah, I spoke it. I was cut off yesterday. My call dropped, I believe. I wanted to say, first of all, your call receptionist, the young lady that answered the phone, she was very polite, very professional. She's the best I've seen. Very polite and very professional. So give her a raise. I vote for a raise.
That ain't up to me, but I agree with you, brother Brooke. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Let me say this. I was telling the brother Michael Edwards yesterday that a gentleman by the name of Jonas Edward Salk, he was a medical researcher. He discovered the cure for polio. And what I was saying is that I'm quite sure there were other medical researchers who actually set out with that same objective, however, they did not succeed. I can't understand for the world, while I do respect Dr. King and I love Dr. King, how we as a people can celebrate a man and a philosophy that not only was a failed philosophy, but a philosophy that actually took us in the opposite direction. If you look at the stats and look at it realistically, we're worse off now than we were when Dr. King came with that philosophy. Then I have another question. Why would a Christian preacher...
Well, let's start with your first question. What was Dr. King's stated goal?
Secure the lives of black people and create an atmosphere where we would have a better quality of life.
That's your goals. I said, what was Dr. King's stated goals?
Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness for black people in America.
That is Thomas Jefferson's goals. Third time, what was Dr. King's stated goals?
Well, if we're going to go by his actions, what's the teaching?
No, we're going by his stated goal. If you're going to measure someone and say that they didn't achieve what they set out, you got to start by what did they say they were set out to do. That's what you said. If he didn't set out to do what he set out to do. And I'm asking you, what did he say they set out to do?
Quality for black folk in America.
That's not what he said. That's what you said. Your problem, Levi, you call here 2 or 3 times a week condemning Dr. King, is you impose your positions on Dr. King. You impose your ideology on Dr. King. Dr. King never said he was going to do what you said. That's like me going to your house saying, why don't you have a 40-room mansion with 8 bathrooms? Because you never said that's what you had. You invited me to your house. Dr. King said that he was going to change and enforce the laws that America said it was going to do and fulfill its promise. You coming with some stuff Dr. King never said, saying he didn't do what Levi wanted. And Dr. King never said he was going to do what Levi wanted. That's like me saying, well, Malcolm didn't change the woolworths on 125th Street. Malcolm never said he was going to do that.
I guess the thing that I struggle with is that as Dr. King, led in the effort to help achieve the respect that African Americans in this country, were justified in demanding, were it not for him and for all who worked with him, marched and worked with him, worked and walked with him, do you think that this nation would have had a Civil Rights Act of 1964? Do you think we would have had a Voting Rights Act of 1965?
That was his stated goal.
Right,
Dr. King started Montgomery saying, we're going to defeat the public accommodation laws of segregation. He did that.
He did it.
He came with voting in Selma. They did that.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm asking Levi, what is he talking about?
Right. I don't quite understand, and I think that you are confusing impact and consequence with intended goals. You know, sometimes you can achieve your goal, and then how it plays out because of the powers that be. You know, you have to revisit the goal, which is what King again sought to do. You know, he helped to achieve the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And then when he appreciated that America, because of its structural and institutionalized racist practices, was circumventing those acts, and we were not seeing what we wanted to see by way of poverty reduction, he came back with the Poor People's Campaign. Not really sure what you're talking about.
But hold on, Levi. I'm not going to say you got cut off. I want to let you respond. And then come with your Christian minister question. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Shocked and Jones Austin. Be right back.